Hello everyone, I'm Raven from Raven Comics, and today we're starting a short miniseries. In it, Red Hood will seek revenge against the Joker for everything he's done to him throughout his life. We begin at Thomas Wayne's grave. Batman arrives in the Batmobile and for some reason destroys his father's tomb. As he steps out of the Batmobile and tries to reach the mansion, we see that he's badly injured. Time heals all wounds, if they don't kill you first. Upon entering the Batcave, Batman says he'll fix all the carvings as soon as he fixes them, his parents. As he moves forward, he removes his cowl, and someone takes scissors to cut his suit. That someone is Alfred, who asks how things went this time, why he came back so injured. Through brief flashbacks, we see that the cause of this severe wound was the Penguin. Bruce tells Alfred he did it with an umbrella. But it wasn't just an umbrella. His memories also show the time Bane broke his back, the scar the Riddler left him, and the scratches Catwoman made on his chest. There are also a few gunshots from the Joker that pierced his shoulders. And as he remembers, the one who's caused him the most harm is the Joker. The Joker has used sharp-edged cards to inflict severe wounds and stabbed him in the neck with a bladed weapon. While Alfred is stitching up his wound, Bruce Wayne can't help but recall that laughter. The laughter that's caused countless injuries to his body. We're given more flashbacks, but this time they're from the Monarch Theater. It's a showing of the Mark of Zorro. Someone asks young Bruce why he's laughing, and he replies that it's the greatest movie ever made. Once the movie ends, the Wayne family walks down an alley. Although his parents sense something is off, Martha is unsure about passing through this place. Bruce reassures her, saying everything will be fine and that he'll protect her just like Zorro would. But suddenly, someone appears in front of them. They demand Thomas's wallet and Martha's pearls. Thomas tells them there's no need to do this. They can help him. He just needs to lower the gun. Unfortunately for Thomas Wayne, those were his last words because the man shoots him. Martha Wayne is the next to be attacked. Young Bruce is also about to be harmed, but when the criminal sees his tears, he flees. His enemies may have inflicted countless wounds on his body, but this is the deepest wound of all. Suddenly, Alfred interrupts him, saying it's going to leave a scar. It's not that Bruce doesn't notice. He's just so lost in his memories that he doesn't hear Alfred. A little later, the Gotham City News starts playing. Viewers in the waiting room are urged to leave, as there is unsettling information. The last remaining members of the dwindling Moxon crime family were executed at Lou's restaurant in downtown Gotham tonight. A witness identified the killer as the Joker, apparently continuing his chaotic war against so-called organized crime. A war the Joker began when he first appeared in Gotham decades ago. The Moxon family gained notoriety after being accused of orchestrating the murders of Thomas and Martha Wayne. They were exonerated after a petty thief named Joe Chill confessed to acting alone. Joe Chill is now serving a life sentence at Blackgate Penitentiary. The Joker's real name, of course, remains unknown. A little later, we see Barbara Gordon. After a tough workout, she steps into the shower. As she touches her body, she feels the scar the Joker left when he shot her. This is where we begin to notice the differences between the Jokers. We've already seen the memories of a criminal. Now it's time for a comedian. He just wanted to make a point and raises a toast to crime. Next, we shift to Jason Todd, Red Hood. He's fighting in a cemetery against a gang of criminals. The news continues, and they don't know what to make of all this. A third Joker has been seen tonight. Security cameras captured the recent Arkham Asylum escapee at ACE Chemicals, contradicting previous eyewitness reports of the Joker being seen elsewhere. The details of what happened at the chemical factory remain secret, but sources say bodies have been discovered. The Joker's recent terror spree began earlier this week when the author, Dr. Roger Hintoon, was found stuffed in a janitor's closet at Arkham with a rubber chicken shoved down his throat. Back at the cemetery, Jason Todd finds himself in trouble against the criminals. At the same time, he begins to recall the trauma that has haunted him all his life. The moment when the Joker took a crowbar and beat him with it before taking his life. Meanwhile, the criminals have Jason on the ground. It's time to remove his helmet because they're going to put a bullet in his head. But as he recalls all this, Jason gathers enough strength to recover and take down the criminals. He grabs one by the neck, using him as a shield to take a bullet meant for him. Then he continues attacking, demanding to know where the Joker is. Now Jason grabs another criminal, breaks his arm, and then takes one of his blades and drives it into his head. It's time for Jason to leave. He figured none of these idiots would know where the Joker is, but he needed to warm up, stretch his legs. Now we have the third characteristic of this Joker, the clown. It's time to move on to the Gotham City Police Department. They've been investigating various crimes involving the Joker. His victims are found wearing Red Hood helmets. When the helmets are removed, the victims are found with wide smiles, resembling the Joker. These victims have been discovered outside ACE Chemicals. The people murdered in this manner are none other than members of the Moxon gang. The Gotham City Police Department is interrupted by the Bat. Gordon mentions that they've found 3 crime scenes involving 3 Jokers. He doesn't understand what all this means. He hopes the Bat can shed some light on this madness. What Gordon and the police believe is that they're dealing with Joker impersonators. They've been betting on which crime was committed by the real Joker. While trying to investigate who these people were, they realized that their fingerprints had been erased by the chemicals that whitened their skin. Those same chemicals corrupted any DNA testing, and nerve damage to their facial muscles forced their jaws into smiles, making dental record matches nearly impossible. They can reasonably identify them as resembling the Joker, but obviously, they are not. Batman comments that these guys were probably just vagrants, 3 men chosen to represent the 3 men who were here tonight. Are they leaving a clue, or is this meant to distract them? Because right now, instead of chasing those Jokers, they're here at ACE Chemicals. From what Batman can tell, a truck was stolen from this location. Commissioner Gordon asks what he's talking about. Batgirl arrives and says that he's not talking to Gordon. He's talking to her. And this is where it happened, where the Joker was born. In these chemicals that turned him into that white-skinned clown with the enormous grin. Barbara mentions that half the security cameras aren't working, but the ones that show the Joker looking directly into them. This means the Joker left a witness alive at the Moxon murders and broadcasted the killing of Kalani Apaka. The Joker, or the 3 Jokers, wanted to be seen, but leaving that mystery aside, they find an empty vat that once held who knows what and a missing tanker truck. This means the Joker stole those chemicals and loaded them onto that truck. The commissioner says he'll have everyone search for the truck. What about the other crime scenes? Was the real Joker the one who was here? Who are the other 2? Batman says they don't know yet. Detective Bullock's bet will have to wait until the investigation is complete. Barbara asks if they keep any records at this place. Gordon tells her that paperwork isn't exactly a high priority at ACE Chemicals. Batman comments that, given the 3 corpses, he'd say they were killed in that vat before it was emptied with a mixture similar to the one that created the Joker. But then, what could the Joker want with it? Batman suspects it's to kill a lot of people. At least, that's what he assumes. Either way, they need to find him immediately. Suddenly, the conversation is interrupted. One of the men who had been thrown into the chemicals isn't dead. He starts calling for help and then begins laughing uncontrollably. There's no choice but to restrain him and rush him to the hospital. They have to secure him and make sure nothing happens to him. Batman decides to escort the ambulance to the hospital. Barbara will head to the crime scene involving the comedian. As they move along, Batman tells Barbara that she doesn't have to do this. Batgirl asks if he really thinks she's going to let him go after that maniac alone. The Joker and his substitutes killed many people tonight. She's not going to let him keep hurting himself. Commissioner Gordon shoots her a disapproving look. Could he know that she's Batgirl? Barbara dismisses the idea, saying he's just as disturbed by tonight as the rest of them. Whenever the Joker is involved, everyone prepares for the worst. What kind of look is she supposed to expect? Meanwhile, as they escort the ambulance, the situation with the chemical victim inside begins to escalate. But it's not because he's doing anything. It's because Red Hood has shown up. He demands that this little clown tell him everything he's heard, or he'll find a way to stop his laughing. What did the Joker do to him before whitening his sorry? But this distraction causes the ambulance driver to lose control and crash into the Batmobile. Barbara asks what's going on. Batman says he doesn't know. There's no choice but to activate Autopilot. Batman enters the ambulance. Once inside, he asks Red Hood what he's doing there. Jason says he's getting information. Batman asks if attacking victims is his way of doing that. The man was merely poisoned by the Joker. If his heart rate increases, he'll go into cardiac arrest. He has to let him go. Jason refuses, and the two begin to fight. Outside, Barbara activates a device to blow out the ambulance's tires, trying to bring it to a stop. Meanwhile, we see the Joker driving the tanker he stole from ACE Chemicals. This tank had a broken hose, spilling quite a bit of that chemical. Then we see it arrive at an abandoned house in the middle of nowhere in a forest. When someone opens the door, the Joker comments that he brought a roadkill home to roast, but on the other hand, maybe he needs a bicycle. You've heard it, haven't you? Did you hear it? I wrote it. Two Jokers are face to face in this place. One says that comedians take all the credit for others' work. And by the way, that shirt you're wearing? That's mine. But now, who's taking credit for what's been done to the Jokers? Their greatest act of madness yet, but nothing compared to what's coming. One of them must go inside and listen to what the boss is planning. Well, one of them has to be the boss. There's only one way to stop the laugh. Meanwhile, we return to the Bat, who is using an antidote to counteract the toxins that turned this poor man into a Joker. He's administering a second dose to lower his heart rate. He hopes everything will stabilize soon. Elsewhere, Barbara asks Jason what he's thinking. Red Hood says he was thinking about finding the boss before he kills someone else. Barbara asks how he planned to do that, by interrogating the victims? Jason responds that these are not victims. The information from Joker's thugs indicates that the men Joker picked up and poison came from a social reintegration center. That victim over there has a criminal record, including domestic assault against his own son. He's lucky Jason didn't throw him out of the ambulance. Todd knows Bruce Wayne won't waste the opportunity to lecture him this time either. Batman, realizing Jason was following Joker's trail even before arriving at ACE Chemicals, asks why he didn't share this information earlier. Red Hood replies that he's been trying to track Joker since his escape from Arkham this week. Back in the Joker's hideout, they got the chemicals and have had some fun. But now, what's next? What's next is the same thing they always do. Try to create a better Joker. All three of them are now together. One of them will run the factory, while the other helps with the casting. It's time to give Joker more meaning. One of them says he wants to define things, but he's in favor of giving this a twist. Theater is his specialty, but the other has a good eye for talent. Regardless, they'll settle this with a coin toss. They flip the coin, call heads, and win. The seated boss tells one of them to come with him. He'll be the one to prepare the vat. We return to Batman and Batgirl, who are at Gotham Aquarium. This place has been closed for repairs since a pipe burst 2 days ago. One of the Joker's thugs, Jason, was fighting had a wrench with traces of seawater. Since it was clean, Jason guessed it wasn't from the harbor. It wasn't hard for him to connect it to the aquarium or conclude the thug was responsible for the plumbing issue in the first place. Batman admits Jason did a good job, but says he should have shared that information. As they move forward, Jason remarks that he's never been to this place. Barbara recalls her father used to bring her here when she was a kid. What about Batman? Well, his parents built it. The situation with the three Jokers has everyone on edge. Jason remarks that anyone can see what's really happening. How many times has this happened with a Joker? Has anyone gone insane from it? This is no different. Batman counters, saying they're talking about men and women who were drugged with a vicious toxin. They lost control of themselves. But based on the evidence gathered so far, these three Jokers tonight seem to be in control. It looks like they have motives, even if they're not yet clear. Red Hood comments on Batman's new chest light, saying it's sure to alert everyone nearby. Batman advises him not to assume anything about what they're facing tonight. Everything they've seen so far has been unlike anything before. As they move further, they find that the aquarium's fish have already been infected, including a massive shark. Jason grudgingly admits that's new. Now they know where ACE chemicals are being stored. But why all this? Why make smiling sharks? Red Hood notes that his helmet is detecting multiple security doors opening throughout the facility. They have company. Gaggy arrives, leading a band of criminals from Arkham Asylum. It's been so long. I've been dying to see the Bat again since the Joker told me to come out and play. A fight with the criminals breaks out. Batman is the first to strike. The criminals begin shooting, but their bullets hit the aquarium walls, causing the chemicals to start leaking out. During the fight, Red Hood is battling when Gaggy sneaks up behind him and electrocutes him. The Joker said you'd beg me to stop. This is going to be so much fun. But of course, Red Hood won't let that happen. He's the only one having fun here. Red Hood shoots, but the problem is that he misses and hits the aquarium wall, causing the glass to completely break. The huge shark, now with the Joker's smile, goes after Gaggy and devours him in one bite. Red Hood and Barbara think it's all over. What the Joker planned is finished. Batman knows that's not the case. That fish tank wasn't big enough to hold all the stolen ACE chemicals. Someone comes from behind and says he's right. Speaking of fish, why did Batman and Robin stop going fishing together? The Joker boss is here. Robin kept eating all the worms, or should it be the other way around? The boy wonder number 2. The worms ate him after he buried him? The Joker had a fish tank and uses it to land a hard blow on Jason, then grabs him by the helmet and slams him to the ground so he crashes into the chemicals. We need to take off this annoying mask. He wants to look him in the eyes, those tears, that fear. He can't get enough of it. This fight is interrupted when Batman arrives and delivers powerful punches to the Joker. Barbara also jumps into action, and they defeat him effortlessly. This is very familiar to Barbara. They've really finished off one of the Jokers. Batman confirms it. This is his look, his laugh, and also, this is the smiling fish. Barbara says that all of this is wrong and has a question. He knows the Joker better than anyone. He's changed his appearance over the years. His modus operandi is as straight as a river. But is it really him? Batman doesn't answer, and Jason interrupts them. The chemicals clouded his lenses, that's all. But if he wanted to, he would have crushed him himself. Gordon communicates with Batman. Jim says they've captured one of the 3 Jokers. Gordon tells him they've just cornered the second one. They have him at 10th and 7th on Broadway. Batman heads there. He has to find the next Joker, but while he's leaving, they have to secure him. Wait for Arkham Transport to make sure they have him under control because he always has something up his sleeve. Once Batman leaves, Jason and Barbara have him tied up. Speaking to Barbara, Jason says he sounds a little different and also looks a little different than last time. He's thinner. They've never known his real name or where he came from. So how are they supposed to know it's really him? And what if there's always been more than one? I mean, he hasn't used it for many years and can't remember the last time he played with a smiling fish and a deck of sharp cards. The Joker wakes up and says that he hasn't used flowers sprayed with acid for a while, before he manages to hit his target. Barbara stops him in time, so he doesn't cause any harm. The Joker says all of this is so classic. He's the one and true Joker. He can prove it. They just need to check his pockets. The Joker is the hamster wheel, the cycle of pain that traps them all. They can take Red Hood as an example. Has he ever wondered why he uses his old nickname? Who in their right mind would take the identity of their killer? He's right. Red Hood says he took it because he owns what was done to him. He made him this way. He will be his destruction. The Joker says he's pretty brave, even scares him. All of this frustrates Red Hood, who grabs his weapon. Jason agrees. Nothing will change until they break this cycle. Batman wouldn't do this. The Joker says he's right. Batman wouldn't do it at all. But Batman's not here. All the Joker is doing is trying to provoke little Red Hood more. They have to see all these facts. He's attacked people. He broke this kid's skull, killed this Robin, and then Batman arrested him like he's been doing. He took him to Arkham, and that's all that happened until it wasn't. Jason says that when he killed him, he didn't really finish him off. He just made him stronger. The Joker says if he crawled out of the shallow grave he left him in, he came back to fight another day. He survived thanks to his tenacity. Or maybe he turned him into a damn disaster because he pushed him to the limit. Because he wanted to leave him alive. I mean, he can kill him. Well, then there's no chance to do any more damage. And in turn, he can't harm Batman anymore because Batman is all that matters to him. Not like Red Hood. He never matters. Does he remember what he said when he broke his head with that crowbar? When his blood ran into his eyes and his skull cracked? Because he appreciates those words, he will always appreciate them. He said, "Please stop. If you let me live, I'll do anything you say. I'll be your Robin." All this causes a huge laugh from the Joker. He just has to look at little Red Hood shooting people and making Batman's life miserable. He hasn't realized, but since he became Red Hood, he just became his little Robin. All this brings back memories of the torture he endured at the Joker's hands. Barbara hits him, but Red Hood knows those hits aren't enough. They need to end his life, and he'll do it once and for all, shooting him right in the skull. They've ended the life of the first Joker. Barbara can't believe it. This causes a small smile on Jason's face. At the same time, we see the Joker fall to the ground. Barbara asks what he's done. Red Hood tells her not to tell him, that she didn't want to do this either, after everything he did to her. Barbara says no, she didn't want to. But when was the last time Barbara failed? Now there's a lot of blood on her boots. Barbara starts crying and leaves, but not before telling Jason to go to hell. After all this time, Red Hood has dealt with the Joker, the one responsible for ruining his life. All he hopes is that it's the right one, and we see him standing in front of the Joker's body.